Hello friends, welcome to or back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about popular TikTok books and my opinions on them. I'd like to preface that these are my personal opinions. You may have the same opinions, you may have different opinions, and that is absolutely fine. These are just my personal opinions. First, we are going to start off with the Twisted series. In the Twisted series, there is Twisted Love, Twisted Games, Twisted Hate, and Twisted Lies. Don't you love how I did that? Starting off with Twisted Love, this is a grumpy sunshine. This guy is grumpy, and the girl is sunshine. Who knew? Oh, it's brother's best friend, forced proximity, a little bit of drama, a little bit of mystery. Apparently, it's supposed to be dark romance. It's not. It's really not. But apparently it's classified as a dark romance because there is a pew pew scene, so fair enough. Is there? Yes, there is. Oh, and it was great. I do remember that scene, and that scene was fantastic. I used to really like Twisted Love. I think the Twisted series was probably my favourite series at the start of 2022. However, it is now the end of 2023. And my opinions have definitely changed. I don't think it's terrible. I don't. And I think if you want to read it, you should. But I don't think that it's necessarily the best book you'll ever read in your whole entire life. I enjoyed it, it was short, it was sweet, I've reread it multiple times. However, every time I've reread it, I've noticed things that I really don't like anymore and things that would bug me. I can say with absolute certainty that if I read this book today, I would probably hate it. Not hate it, I would just have a strong dislike towards it. Then we have the second book in this series, which is Twisted Games. By the way, this is an interconnected series, so it focuses on a different couple every single book, but they're all from the same friendship group. So it's a female friendship group and they all have their own book. Anyway, Twisted Games is about a princess, a real life princess. Her name's Bridget, and her bodyguard, Reese. She's a princess, he's a bodyguard, he needs to protect her. They fall in love. Yay! This, I can say that if I read it now, I would definitely like a lot more than Twisted Love. Why? Because I feel like this story made more sense. Then we have Twisted Hate, which is an enemies to lovers, and it follows Josh and Jules. Josh is actually Ava from the first book's brother, and Jules is Ava and Bridget's friend. Josh is a doctor, Jules is, I think she's training to be a lawyer, and they're enemies for no apparent reason, not one, but they do seem to really dislike each other. Again, for reasons unknown to the reader and probably unknown to them. It was okay. That's all I have to say. Then we have Twisted Lies, which is the final book in the series, and it follows Stella and Christian. Stella is friends with Jules, Bridget, and Ava, and Christian, I wouldn't say he's friends with Alex from the first book, but they know each other. Now, when I tell you the hype for this book was insane. Christian and Stella had 2 interactions in Twisted Hate, and I wanted more. I was like, I need more. Feed me. Give me more. I need it all. However, when their book came, it was the biggest, fattest letdown. Because what do you mean I waited that long for this? Don't get me wrong. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't good. And it was way too long. Let me see how long it was. 555 pages. Also, basically Stella has a stalker. That's not a spoiler. But she has to become closer with Christian because she's practically scared for her life. However, Christian Harper, he might as well have been the stalker with the amount of information he knew about this girl. It was scary. It was not okay. It was very concerning, actually. And if he wasn't the main male love interest, then I feel like people would have been a bit more like, hey, what you doing, buddy? It's kind of weird. Just a lot of things he did was very icky. Overall, would I recommend the Twisted series to you? Probably not. I think Twisted Games is the best book out of all of them, which is book 2. You do not need to read any of the other books in order to read. So say if you want to read the 3rd book, you don't need to read the first 2 books first. I actually read the 3rd book first. I would say if you do want to read any of them, read Twisted Games. Next we have the Kiss Quotient. I cannot begin to explain to you how bored I was when I read this. I'm shocked that I finished it. It's pretty much about this girl called Stella, this guy called Michael, and they fake date. I believe they fake date because she wants to show her family that she can have a boyfriend or something along their lines. You know, the typical reason why people start fake dating in books. It was dry, it was boring. The main 2 characters, the main male character was so annoying. I'm sorry, but every single thing that came out of his mouth, I was like, please just go away. And that's mean, yet it's true. Firstly, this book is in third person. Now, if there's anything you should know and need to know about me, it's that I despise with a burning passion third person. So that didn't do us any favours. However, I overlooked it and I started the book. The book started off promising, and then the more you read into it, the more boring and just dry it became, which is really upsetting because I had heard such good things about this book. Next we have Punk 57. Now this was popular, I would say about 1 or 2 years ago, and when I read this, I honestly didn't know what to do with myself. I had to finish. It was so bad that I was like, I have to see this through. I have to know how this ends, because what do you mean I'm supposed to enjoy this? You know what I did enjoy? I enjoyed despising this book. That gave me such joy. Oh my goodness me. In a nutshell, this book follows two characters, Misha and Ren. They originally start off as pen pals. They're paired together, I would say when they're like 8 or 10 or something. They had never met each other. They continue writing to each other as they get older. They don't know what each other looks like, they just know their name. And one day, somehow, Misha manages to figure out who, is it Ryan? Ren. Ryan or Ren? It might be Ryan, not Ren. Yeah, let's go with Ryan. Misha, the main male lead, figures out who Ryan, the female main character, what she looks like. Figures out who she is. But Ryan does not know what Misha looks like. Misha is not happy with what he sees when he finally figures out who Ryan is. So he decides the best way to go about this is basically bully her, basically just be really unnecessarily rude and mean and quite frankly odd towards her. He was an odd duck, a really odd little guy. Yeah, I do not have fond memories of this book. Actually, I did like one thing about Punk 57. It was Misha's name. The name Misha is such a beautiful, lovely name. However, everything else about this book made me want to throw my head against a brick wall. Then we have the Dreamland Billionaire series, which has 3 books in it, but I've only read 2. I've read the fine print and I've read terms and conditions. Starting off with the fine print. No. The nicest thing about this book is the cover. The cover is beautiful. The cover is pretty. The cover is absolutely darling. However, friends and family, oh my gosh, it was just so bad, in my personal, humble opinion. In a nutshell, this guy called Rowan comes from a family that owns Dreamland, which is basically like Disney. Disney has the Disney parks, it has the movies, it has streaming services, all of that. It's basically Disney, but it's called Dreamland, and his family owns it. Now, his grandfather passes away, and in order for each son, there are 3 sons, to get their inheritance, they have to do certain things in order to get their inheritance. So in Rowan's case, he has to go to one of the Dreamland sites, like a Disneyland or a Disney World, and he has to work there for 6 months and something else which I've forgotten about. And when he gets there, he meets Zara, who works at the Dreamland parks, Dream World, whatever you want to call it. Everything about this book, again, made me want to bash my head into a wall. You know, it wasn't terrible. Big fat lie. Rowan was pretty much grumpy for no reason, rude for no reason, and just not a pleasure to be around. Zara was just annoying. After I finished this one, I thought all hope was lost. Friends, it was not, because I read Terms and Conditions. Terms and Conditions is such a good book. This follows Rowan's brother, Declan, and Declan's assistant, Iris. Now, in order for Declan to get his inheritance that his grandfather left for him, he has to be married and have a child within a year. Otherwise, he can't become, I think it's CEO. Yeah, I think it's CEO. He can't become CEO. And he doesn't want to get married or have children. Like, that is not for him. So he's like, hey, Assistant Iris, find me someone to marry. Somehow, some way, that person just poof, into thin air, gone, bye-bye. So Iris is like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? You know what? I'll marry you. This was such a good marriage of convenience. Such a good marriage of convenience. If somebody said to me, hey, Eden, I need a marriage of convenience book, I would say, hey, have you read Terms and Conditions? If you haven't, read this, because it's such a good marriage of convenience. I love fake dating when they have to pretend to be in love with each other and then they're like, oh my gosh, is this real? Is it not? Love it. Next we have the Off-Campus series, and this is a sports hockey college romance series. The first book is The Deal, the second book is The Mistake, and the third book is The Score. The fourth book is, couldn't tell you what it's called, but I'll put it up. I haven't read that one. And then it has a fifth epilogue book, and I couldn't tell you what that's called. And I haven't read that. I've read the first three. First, The Deal. The Deal follows Hannah and Graham, and I believe it's tutoring. Yes, it's tutoring. He needs help. I think it's not with maths. Is it with psychology? I'm not sure. He needs help in a certain subject which Hannah is clearly very, very good at. So he's like, hey, could you tutor me? And she's like, what would I get out of it? I completely forgot what she does get out of it. I'm not sure if it's fake dating. Yes, it is fake dating that she gets out of it. He gets a tutor, she gets fake dating because she wants to impress a guy that is on his hockey team. This was a very, very average good read. In my opinion, you have very bad, bad, average bad, average, average good, good, very good, amazing / great. This falls in the category of average good. If you're looking for a sports college romance with fake dating and the tutor trope, because apparently that's a trope, then this is absolutely fine. This is great. But I wouldn't tell you to drop everything and read it because it's really not jaw-dropping, you know? There were parts in this book which cringed me out, there were parts in this book which I didn't like, but overall, average good. Then we move on to The Mistake, which was an absolute mistake to read. It follows two people in which I've forgotten their names, and they do something in which I've forgotten what exactly it is that they do. Yeah, just a terrible book. The main male character basically falls in love with this girl. I think her name's Grace. Within the span of 30 seconds, why? I don't know. I don't think any of us know. He makes one mistake, and he then spends the majority of the book trying to get her back when he technically never had her in the first place. She's making it really hard to get her back, but they were never together. They were never together. Then we move on to The Score, which was my favourite out of all three of them. This follows Dean and Ali. Dean is able to get any girl that he wants because everybody loves him, apart from Ali. Ali's like, no thank you. So he's like, I'm gonna make it my mission to get her to like me, I believe. I think that's what happens. Honestly, I don't remember. All I remember is that I really enjoyed this book. Minus the ending. The ending I did not like. The ending I was not fond of. However, overall, it was a good book, and I would recommend you read this. Next we have the Shatter Me series. Now out of the Shatter Me series, I've read Shatter Me, the first novella in the Unite Me trilogy, it's called Destroy Me, and Unravel Me. Shatter Me, listen, every single person and their mother, father, brother, sister, and cat named Gary says that Aaron Warner is the best book man ever. And the Shatter Me series, you just have to read it, it's amazing. And I wanted to believe you, I did believe you until I read the book. The first book was just so dry, oh my gosh. And I was kind of confused as to how I was supposed to root for Aaron Warner. I really was, because that is what I'm supposed to be like, oh my gosh, yeah, Aaron, hi. No, it was just it was average bad, is what I would call this, unfortunately. But everybody told me you need to keep reading, so that's what I did. So I read the novella, which was Destroy Me, which I didn't read this because it was a huge waste of my time, but I did anyway. Then I read Unravel Me. This book was 10 million trillion billion times better than the first book. Don't get me wrong, it still wasn't great, it was just better. In this book, everybody says that you're supposed to root for Aaron Warner, like we're supposed to be Aaron Warner lovers. However, and I know a lot of you probably are going to be like, Eden, no. But Aaron Warner's dad had a lot more going for him than Aaron Warner did. Aaron Warner was very, okay, I'll go do this, okay, I'll go do that. But his dad was more authoritative. And Aaron Warner's supposed to be authoritative, and I'm not seeing it. It's not translating. Don't get me wrong, the dad was a terrible person, yet he just had a bit more going for him than Aaron does. So there's that. Haven't read the third book. Apparently the third book's the best book. We'll see. Next we have One of Us is Lying, and I really, really like this. It's a young adult mystery book where 5 students get detention, 1 student dies in the middle of detention and people are trying to figure out who did it, what happened, what was going on, who's to blame kind of thing. It was a good book. I really liked it. I don't normally read murder mysteries or mysteries in general. I think I did predict who did it or the plot twist and everything, but I really enjoyed it whilst I was reading it. So if you want a very simple, nice, easy, fast-paced book, One of Us is Lying is great. And it's YA, so there's no, you know, explicit content. Next we have Archer's Voice. Now Archer's Voice I had heard such good things about. It was extremely highly anticipated for me. Everybody who read it loved it, with a capital L. However, when I read it, did I love it with a capital L? No. Did I love it with a lowercase l? No. Did I love it at all? Absolutely not. It was just not good. It's a small town romance following Archer and some girl named, I don't know. I don't know her name. Hold on. Bree. Her name was Bree. I believe that Bree moves to this small town and Archer is kind of an outcast. People don't talk to him. He's very lonely, kind of lives by himself. Nobody really communicates with him. And Mia, her name's not Mia. What is her name? Bree is the first person to kind of break down those barriers. I don't know what it was about this book. I didn't finish it. I couldn't finish it. I got up to the 60% point, no, 66% point, and I called it quits. It was just, oh, it took everything in me to try and finish it because I really wanted to. I just couldn't. Archer had a childlike innocence that it made me slightly uncomfortable how innocent he was perceived to be. Bree, I don't know, she was fine. It was really, was it Archer? I think it was just everybody in this book I didn't like. Everybody in this book I just kind of sat there thinking, what are you doing? Why are you here? What's going on? It was just so pointless and sad. But not sad like, oh my gosh, I want to cry. No. It made me sad reading the book. I don't want to be sad. I want to be happy. Now, a lot of people do love this book, so I would say still give it a go. But me personally, if you love the books that I love and you don't like the books that I don't like, then don't read this. Next, we have The Inheritance Games. It started off really well. It started off so well. This is another book that I DNF'd, which I did not finish. This is about a girl named Avery who randomly inherits billions, I'm pretty sure it's billions or it's millions of dollars from somebody who she never knew when he passed on. And now his grandson, he has 4 grandsons, they're all wondering why they didn't get any money, why they didn't get anything left to them, and why it all went to this random girl named Avery who's never met this man before in her life. And it's pretty much a mystery trying to figure out why he left this money to her. I got so bored. In a mystery book, you're not supposed to get bored. You're always supposed to be thinking like, oh my goodness, who did that? Who did that? Oh my word. Now, like, your brain's supposed to be working. My brain was not working. It was asleep. It went into hibernation, friends. But again, if you want to read it, please read it. It wasn't for me. Oh, and there was a love triangle. There was a love triangle between the two brothers. I think it's either Jeremiah or Jeremy and Grayson. All I know is that I preferred Grayson. I wanted her with Grayson. I didn't care for the other one. I don't know who she ended up with. I'm not entirely sure. I know that all of the books, it's a series by the way, all of the books in this series have come out now and you figure out who she's with. I mean, she figures out who she's with because people in love triangles, they never know. So, in conclusion, wouldn't recommend. DNF'd, I think it was 70%. I like the spine though. The spine was great. Then we have Ugly Love. The love was indeed ugly, friends. Ugly it was. It was just bad. Everything about this was just bad. The main female character, needed to get some standards. The main male character needed to go to therapy. And the other character from years ago, I don't even want to talk about it. Oh, and the plot twist did not twist as it should. It was not. This is the first and last Colleen Hoover book I've read. People say I should try Reminders of Him and I should try Ugly Bones or Dark Bones or Cracked Bones or I don't know what it's called. All the other ones that she has. But I've decided sometimes you just know. And with this lovely lady, I knew I won't be reading any more of these books because they're just not for me, and that's absolutely fine. Again, as I said before, Tate needs to get some standards, Miles needs to go to therapy. The only person, the friendship group, didn't like them. The only person I liked in this book was the doorman. For some context, Miles is Tate's brother's best friend, I think, or they're just close. Tate, I believe, moves into an apartment near to Miles, and they kind of connect-ish. The amount of times Miles says, please don't fall in love with me, I'm not gonna fall in love with you, just let it go. And Tate goes, okay, but in her mind she does the whole, I can change him. And then she gets surprised when she realizes he was serious about really not loving her back. The most embarrassing thing that happened in this book was, oh, Rachel. Now, if you've read this book, which I'm pretty sure the majority of you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The amount of second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth hand embarrassment I got from that moment is uncanny. It's ridiculous. It's shocking. Treacherous. Then we have from Lukov with Love. This follows two figure skaters. They have figure skating partners and they fall in love on the ice. The thing with Mariana Zapata's books is she does slow burn. However, the burn is way too slow. It's not even slow burn, it's snail burn. The slow burn did not burn as it should because it kind of ended up in a glorified friendship. I genuinely believe that these two characters did not have a lot of chemistry. I personally think they should have stayed friends. And that's a large statement coming from somebody who loves love. It was so much longer than it needed to be. You could have cut out 200 pages and it still would have been too long. But I feel like that's the case with all of Mariana Zapata's books. So if you love a really, really, really slow burn with barely any chemistry, pick this up. You'll have a whale of a time. Next is the Chestnut Spring series, and I have read 3 out of the 5 books that are currently available. I read Flawless, which is book 1, Heartless, which is book 2, and Hopeless, which is the 5th and final book, I believe. Now, Flawless and Heartless, I couldn't finish. Flawless, which I believe is book 1, I got in at about 25%, then I called it quits. Heartless, I got way further. I got in about 60%, and I believe that one was about Cade and Willa, and she becomes a nanny to the male main character's 5-year-old son. You know what? One thing I will say about these books is that normally I do not like children books, but this child was written very well. I liked this child. He was great. But I just couldn't finish it. I don't know why. I don't think it speaks to the book and the way it was written. I think it's just my personal mindset at the time. I was like, I don't want to read you, so I'm not going to. And that's exactly what happened. The first book, however, no. But the 5th book, Hopeless, I did end up reading. That one is a marriage of convenience, or an engagement of convenience, because they didn't actually get married. And it's supposed to be some tortured hero who was a main male character and a shy girl. She wasn't shy at all. I don't know where they got shy from. But I did like it. It was simple. It was average good. You know, on my scale, it was average good. The main male character was doing a bit too much sometimes. He did need to calm down. I liked the female character. She was pleasant. Everything else, very average, but average good, nonetheless. The final book I'll be talking about today is Icebreaker. Oh my gosh, it was just so bad. I would probably put Icebreaker on one of my least favourite books of 2023. In the nicest way possible, it was terrible, in my humble opinion. Reasons why I didn't like the book. Number 1, there were too many main characters. It was so difficult to try and figure out who was doing what, who was where, who was going out with who. It was very, very difficult. And I understand the reason why there were so many main characters is because the author's trying to set up for a series so that you're able to follow all of these characters and then they get their own love story, but there was just too many. Way too many. It was very hard to keep up. Reason number 2, the main female character, Anastasia, oh my gosh, she was awful. And I don't say this about book women very often, but she was just, it was supposed to be a reverse Grumpy Sunshine where she was the grump and the main male character was the sunshine. Completely forgotten his name. Let's call him Arthur for the sake of the video. Anastasia was horrible to Arthur. There's a fine line. No, there's not a fine line actually. There's being grumpy and then there's being rude. And she was not grumpy, she was rude. She just went straight over. I don't understand why. It was unnecessary. It wasn't warranted. It was just it wasn't pleasant to read. Nate or Nathaniel. His name was Nathaniel, Nathan or Nate. That's what his name was. She treated him terribly and he just kind of sat there and took it and he was like, okay, well at least she's pretty. Nathaniel, please please. Everybody in that book needed to sit down, lie down, have a cup of chamomile tea and rethink their actions. So that was the end of part 1 of my opinions on popular TikTok books. There are a lot of popular TikTok books, so I will have to make a part 2 because I've got a whole lot more to say. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, don't forget to subscribe. Let me know what other book related videos you want to see, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.